Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 2, appearances. Now in our package, conversational package, in the first lesson we looked at greetings, if you remember. And now in order to discuss it in more details, today we are going to look at appearances. Now, when we are talking about appearances, the first thing that you need to understand is that the main idea is how we can describe people. That is the first important thing. Now, if someone asks you, what does your brother look like? What does your father look like? What does your English teacher look like? Now, the answer that you could give could vary, right? So for example, if someone asks you, what does your English teacher looks like? You can say he looks tall or short or fat or thin. But that is not a complete answer. It is much wiser if you can produce an answer that combines adverbs and adjectives. You see, in English, when you ask someone, how are you today? They don't just say okay, they say fairly okay or kind of okay. You see, there are 3 key adverbs that you can use to describe. One of them is kind of, the other one fairly, and the other one very. So if I asked you, what does your father look like? You could say he looks kind of tall, he looks fairly tall, he looks very tall. The difference between these 3 levels, kind of tall, fairly tall, and very tall, is the fact that you can look at people and see, let's say if someone is minus 150 centimeters, 160 centimeters, that is pretty short or very short. But if someone is between 160 to 170, you would say he's, I would say fairly short. And then less than 180, that's kind of short. But then over 80, over 180 centimeters, or in English, we would say over 5'7", 5'8", that would be kind of tall. Remember, when we say 5'8" or 5'9", we're saying 5 feet and 9 inch. So that's the American system. And then in the European system, we would say 180 cm or centimeters. So here, what we're looking at is the height of the people, right? And the height of the people can be described in different ways. You can say tall or short, very tall, fairly tall, kind of short, fairly short, very short. This is how we describe people's height. But then when we're talking about their weight, you would use adjectives like fat and thin. Now, very fat, that's over 100 kg or kilograms. And then fairly fat, kind of thin, fairly thin, and of course, very thin. And then for age, you could say very old, fairly old, kind of old if someone is over 40. And if someone like me is under 40, you would say kind of young. Under 30, that's fairly young. And under 20, of course, it's very young. Now, this way, you can produce an answer that is effective. So imagine I asked you, well, what does your brother look like? What does your sister look like? What does your father look like? What does your mother look like? And you say, my mother is tall. Is that a better answer? Or you say, well, my mother looks fairly short, kind of thin, and fairly old. Isn't that better? I would ask you, What does your English teacher look like? Well, my teacher, Mr. Manzoor, looks kind of tall, fairly fat, not that fat, just fairly fat, and kind of young, still young. Well, my teacher, Mr. Manzoor, looks kind of tall, fairly fat, and kind of young. And also, I'm not really sure, but I think he is in his late 30s. You see, if somebody is 38, 39, you would say he is in his late 30s. If somebody is 31 or 32, you would say he is in his early 30s. If someone is 35, 36, you would say he is in his mid 30s. So early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s. How old is your father? Well, I'm not really sure. He never tells me, but I think he is in his early 70s. It means my father is 70, 71, 72. That's early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken means if I'm getting this right, which I hope I am. So as you can see here, this is the general description. This is the general description. Now we are going to go into more specific. We are going to look at facial features. You see, when we are talking about facial features, men can have a mustache, a goatee, or a beard. Let's repeat. Beard, goatee, mustache. One more time. Mustache, mustache, goatee, 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 beard, 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 goatee, mustache. But what's interesting is that you wouldn't say, like, for example, he has a mustache, right? You have other verbs at your disposal. You could also say he wears a mustache. He has grown a mustache. In English, we use so many verbs to talk about facial hair. For example, you can say my uncle has a thin mustache. My uncle has a thick mustache. My teacher has a thin goatee. My teacher has a thick goatee. Or you could say, my husband has grown a short beard. My husband has grown a long beard. But what's fascinating is that in this picture, you can see in the picture, this man in the picture, this is not a beard. This is 5 o'clock shadow. He has a 5 o'clock shadow. 5 o'clock shadow means like you haven't shaved for a few days. So your face is kind of dark and you have a shadow, like a 5 o'clock shadow on your face. So he has a 5 o'clock shadow. But as you can see, your teacher today, he is always clean shaven. He is always clean shaven. Clean shaven means completely without any facial hair because of clean shaven with a razor or basically clean shaven is like really clean shaven. 5 o'clock shadow is a bit darker, and then beard, short beard, and then long beard. That's how the system works for men. But of course, when we're talking about hair color, you can say my teacher, he has dark brown hair, or he's got dark brown hair, or he has black hair, or maybe my girlfriend has blonde hair, or my boyfriend has brunette hair. Remember, blonde hair, that's like golden, and then brunette is between brown and blonde. We call that brunette. Some people like brown hair, some people like brunette, some people like blonde. It depends on your taste. And then old people, like people who are elderly or senior citizens, they have either white hair or gray hair. Of course, sometimes even young people can have gray hair. It's completely natural, happens all the time. So gray is a color between white and black. So white and black, between you have gray. So you have black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, brunette hair, gray hair, and white hair. On the other side, when we're talking about eye color, you can have black eyes, brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, gray eyes, but we do not say yellow eyes or honey eyes, as it's said in some languages. In English, we say hazel eyes. Hazel eyes are like something between light brown and golden, and it's a color of honey. It's a color of hazelnuts, you know, hazelnuts. That color is what we call hazel. And when someone's eyes are like light brownish, we would say he's got hazel eyes. So when we're talking about hair color, he's got dark brown hair. When we're talking about eye color, he's got light brown eyes. But when we are talking about hair, is a different story. You see, hair, the color can be black, brown, blonde, brunette, gray, and white. But when we're talking about the style of hair and the length, this is a different story. You see, when we're talking about length, and this is something that you have to pay attention, because long is an adjective, length is the noun, right? Keep that in mind. Your hair length could be short, medium length, shoulder length, or long. So let's do it one more time. Short, medium length, shoulder length, or long, right? So my hair is short, clearly. I still have hair, but you know, short. And then it's the style. So the style could be puffy, like Africans, you know. It could be curly, like Egyptians, you know. It could be wavy, like Italians. Or it could be straight, like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Asians, right? So my hair, like Italians, but I'm not Italian, just my hair is Italian, is wavy hair, right? So I would say I have short, wavy, dark brown hair. My teacher's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. My teacher's got short, wavy, brown hair. My teacher's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. My teacher's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. My teacher's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. Fantastic. It is very important that you are able to produce adjectives like 2, 3, 4 at the same time without a pause. All right, so you need to breathe from here. What kind of hair does your teacher have? Well, breathe. Well, he's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. 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 Like that. He's got short, wavy, dark brown hair. Like that. It is very important that you do not stop and say, he has short hair, wavy hair, I think dark hair, dark brown hair, dark brown hair. If you repeat hair 3 times,